All right, let's see. Are we recording? We are recording. Here we go.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Allison Loves Math Podcast. I'm very excited to introduce today's guest, Nicole Thomson. She's a former elementary school teacher, founder of the Fulfilled Classroom, author of The Little Things, and my co-author on a very cool project that we've been working on together called the Love Math Journal, which includes over 200 quick prompts, affirmations, and reflections to help students develop gratitude, growth mindset, and a love for math. If you missed last week's episode, that was actually the first interview that I did with Nicole. And that was sort of the interview that inspired our conversations that led to us creating this cool new project. And then today, this is the follow-up interview that we're recording after we've created the journal. So welcome. I'm so excited to have you here today, Nicole.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here again.
I know.
And this time, instead of as a stranger, I a friend. So I'm really excited to be here.
I know this is so fun. It's sort of it's funny the amount of time that we've spent talking and working on stuff together since that last episode.
Yes.
So let's start off. Why don't you tell everyone who's listening a little bit about the Love Math Journal? Like, what is this thing that we've created?
Well, it just like the title suggests, it's a journal that is going to help our students to love math and develop a positive mindset. And there it is. So excited to have a hard copy and to see that. I can't wait till it's in everyone else's hands. But the journal, it stemmed from an idea of a gratitude journal, because gratitude journals are all over the place right now. And we know how valuable they can be. And having a daily practice of, looking at the positive side of things and just journaling and reflecting. And after our last podcast, Allison suggested, I wonder if we could, infuse this together, like math and gratitude. Could we develop something along the lines of a gratitude journal for math? And so it started with, we thought we would just have a few prompts that we could use in math class that were gratitude related. And then it just kept snowballing into this full journal where there are, like Allison said, over 250 prompts and affirmations. And so it's journal prompts to get your students thinking about the good things about math and why we use math and why challenges can be good. It's like infused with affirmations, positive affirmations for kids, and a lot of nice quotes for them to develop some, growth mindset, some motivation, and just that to get rid of that fear of failure, right? And so there are some gratitude specific prompts as well, just so that students can develop that positive mindset, because we've seen so many benefits from practicing gratitude that can affect their math class, right? So it's a really cool spin on a gratitude journal that is specifically geared to math class, because we couldn't find anything like it on the market. We tried Googling.
We searched a lot to see if there was anything like this.
And there really wasn't. There was a lot of growth mindset, a lot of gratitude, but nothing specifically for math class with these types of journals. So we are really excited about that, getting that into the hands of some teachers and parents to help their kids, especially if they are struggling with loving math right now. But yeah, that's
we know lots of students are. Yes, that's one of the things I love so much that is focused on math, because I think we've seen so much more gratitude and journaling and affirmations and that sort of stuff in the classroom now. But so often I feel like that can help students generally, but for some reason then that message gets lost when it comes to math, right? So they can know that they need to try hard, they need to pick themselves up when they make mistakes, and they get that in sort of a general sense. But then when they go back to math, they go, oh gosh, I'm just not a math person. Oh gosh, I'm just bad at math. And so the thing that I love about this is it takes all of these messages and things that we're already doing in the classroom, just in general, right? For student mindset and student well-being and stuff. And we're taking it and we're applying it specifically to math, which in all honesty is kind of the place where a lot of students need it the most.
For sure. Absolutely.
So let's talk about, so we decided to go with the name Love Math Journal. And it wasn't just because this is the Allison Loves Math podcast, but because we were really thinking that, the love of math, right? Getting students to not just overcome the fear of math, but getting them to love it and enjoy it is important. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Because I see it in adults as well right now that have gone through school with that fear of math, right? And that math anxiety. And in the students that I teach, I see a lot of that as well. So if I could, develop something in my classroom and a practice to help students, at especially a young age, that we're trying to, target them at a young age so that they grow up not being afraid of math and open to challenges. And I think a lot of it is just that fear, right? The fear of not knowing something, of failure. And if we can get our students past that at a young age, then we're setting them up for so much more success, right? And
Yes.
not just, like you say, to overcome the fear, but to love math and to embrace it, because math is in everything. And they'll see that in the journal too. We've got some pages dedicated to that, to show them where math is in their lives. And it's infused in everything we do. And so it's really important. It's so important to life in general. So to set our kids up for loving it is really important.
Hang on. Of course, my alarm goes off in the middle of that.
Mine went off right before.
Oh my God. Let me make sure I accidentally. Nope. Of course, I hit snooze. It would have gone off in 10 minutes again. Sorry, I totally interrupted you. You're talking about why math is important, right? And how it's in everything, right?
Yes.
And essentially, like as adults, there's no way around it. And so if we can just teach kids to love it, they grow up to be adults who love it, and there isn't this lifelong fear that you carry around with you with something that is, ultimately unavoidable, right?
Exactly.
And actually, that brings me to the very back, where we do talk a little bit about why math is important. So I'm just going to read the back cover of the book really quickly. So it says, why math? What big, wild, amazing goals do you want to accomplish in your life? If you look deeply enough, you'll find math in everything. Math can help you do better at sports, music, art, video games. It'll help you become a race car mechanic, own a salon, or create a successful YouTube channel. Math teaches you how to tackle hard challenges, pick yourself up when you fall, and think outside the box to figure out how to accomplish the intimidating yet inspiring things. Did you hear that beep also?
Yeah, I thought that was in my house. I thought it was my kid's computer. Can you hear the dog barking?
Let me try this one more time. I'll just start from the top on the reading, okay? So, which brings me to the very back of the book. I'm just going to read it because it talks a little bit about why math is important, or some of the reasons why we're thinking it's important for students. All right. So it says, why math? What big, wild, amazing goals do you want to accomplish in your life? If you look deeply enough, you'll find math in everything. Math can help you do better at sports, music, art, and video games. It'll help you become a race car mechanic, own a salon, or create a successful YouTube channel. Math teaches you how to tackle hard challenges, pick yourself up when you fall, and think outside the box to figure out how to accomplish the intimidating yet inspiring things you'd like to do. Whatever your goals are, math can help you reach them. That is the beauty of math. So that's a lot of why we created it and what we're hoping that students will see, right, and feel and appreciate, after they've gone through the journal.
Yes. And I think when it's titled Love Math, like we're just putting that into their heads every time they pick up that journal, right? Love math. We thought, we were throwing things around because it was focused on math anxiety, and we didn't know what to call this journal. And while we were talking, just the two of us, right at the beginning, well, let's talk about our math anxiety journal. Well, we quickly had to take that out of it because we couldn't call it math anxiety journal, because this isn't just for people with math anxiety. It's for people that do love math already. And we don't want to focus on the anxiety piece. We want to focus on the love piece of our Love Math journal. So I'm a strong believer in using the words that we want our students, to be hearing.
Exactly. So, because we had thought about, a large part of the reason for creating it, right, was to sort of help with this rampant math anxiety that we're seeing everywhere, right? But we liked the idea of creating the title so that it's working towards something positive, right? The goal that we want to reach is loving math, rather than having the title focus on like the negative thing that we're trying to overcome, right? Plus, we know both of us have met lots of students who have math anxiety, but then are adamant that they don't, right? And so we didn't want to eliminate those students from finding the journal as a useful tool, right? Because then they'd look at that and say, oh, I don't have math anxiety, it doesn't pertain to me. But the Love Math journal, it's for everybody, right? In fact, my kids, when I got the the draft of it delivered to my house, my kids just grabbed it up and they were so excited. They're like, "Oh my God, Mom got me a journal and it's about math." And they didn't even notice that like I had made it. And so they just started, using it and just filling it in, and they were having so much fun with it just on their own. But they're already kids who love math anyways, and so it isn't, I do like that it's very general and it can work for, or help or be fun for students, regardless of how they feel about math.
Yes, for sure. I love that your kids have filled all the first 10 pages.
I know. I was so excited to see it myself because it was our draft of the journal, and I wanted to go through and start making notes. And it was just like, it wasn't until after they went to bed actually that I got a chance to really look at it. They had laid their claim on it for early on. Let's see. Okay, so next up, I wanted to talk a little bit about who the book is for and sort of like how and when to use it. So we were thinking about mostly teachers and parents, right, would get the book for their students and for their kids. So you want to talk a little bit about sort of, let's start with teachers. Maybe how might a teacher use this book?
Sure. So it's for students grades 4 to 8. And hopefully we'll have some more coming out for younger as well. But for now, it's for 4 to 8. And the teachers can use this in their math class at the beginning of math class, or you could do it at the end as a reflection as well. But it only takes a couple minutes because you just have to do one of the prompts. Sometimes you might want to do a couple prompts because they go together. You might have more time during one class, so you'll do a few prompts. But really, as long as you're spending a couple minutes to build a consistent practice, that's what really matters here, is building that consistency. It's not about opening the journal and doing it all in a few days and then putting it away and forgetting about it. This is not like a lesson. This is a practice that we're trying to, incorporate into every day. And so we were thinking beginning end for a couple minutes, as well as at home, you could do this as your children start their homework, as a consistent practice as well. But like I say, it only takes a couple minutes. There's not a lot of room to write their answers to the prompts. And we did that on purpose because we talked to a few math teachers and they said, well, there's never enough time in math class, so they can't write a lot. And as Allison's showing you, there's just a few lines. So they can write really simple answers, one-word answers, point form. You can just have a discussion sometimes, if the teacher wants to write the prompt on the board and have students think about it and have an open discussion. It's really flexible that way in allowing teachers and parents to use it as they see fit.
That was one of the things that, as we were thinking about creating it, the reason why I like the idea so much is because I felt like it kind of solved a problem that I had in the classroom, right? I wanted to do something similar to this, something that was just sort of a quick prompt, something to help students with their mindset right at the beginning of math class. But the trouble with doing that is, one, not having a consistent place for students to always do something. They sort of do it within their notes and it's sort of here and there and organized. And at least, I always found with my students, there's varying degrees of how good they are at taking notes, so while some of them might have stuff written in their notebook, others would just, lose it. And then the other thing that I found was I was spending lots of time, trying to figure out what to ask the students at the beginning of class, or what to have them write about, or what to have them do. And it's just, I don't know, it just added extra prep time for me. And so I think that's part of why I love this book so much, is because I felt like as a teacher, it takes all of the prep work out of it, right? You have this one resource, you just go to it at the very beginning of class, the question's already right there, and you can just have students work on it for just a couple of minutes. So it doesn't take up class time, it doesn't add more prep time, and it gets students in the right mindset right at the beginning of math class, in a positive mindset,
Yes. And I just wanted to touch on really quickly too, the social emotional learning piece that is really, it's been added as a strand to the Ontario math curriculum. And so this hits on like all of the social emotional learning curriculum. And so I think teachers will really appreciate that they have a resource now that is directly related to the new curriculum. It's things like the curriculum includes things like identifying and managing emotions, recognizing their source of stress and coping with challenges, thinking critically and creatively, cultivating a growth mindset, developing a sense of awareness of themselves, all within math class. So this is all within the math curriculum now. And so this just, it hits the nail right on the head with this journal.
Right. I love that. I feel like this we've actually covered all of that stuff in here.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Let's see. Okay. So we talked a little bit about how teachers can use it. And I love that it actually aligns exactly with some of the social emotional curriculum that they're putting into the math classrooms. Let's talk a little bit about how parents can use it, right? Because if you're not using it, if your teacher isn't using it in the classroom, it's something still as a parent that you can get for your child. And, what are some ideas for how parents might use this with their kids?
Well, I definitely think, homework time is an obvious one, but I know at our house, my children have gratitude journals. And although they're not as consistent, say, with their practice as I am, because I have my morning routine, whereas they don't necessarily do that. But I think I like them to use this as a consistent practice, even if it's not during homework time. They can use it in the morning, they can write in it before bed, they can, have a chat with you after school. And so, yeah, I don't want parents to think that they have to do it just when their kid has math homework, right? This can be, and it also depends on your child too, right? And how their level of comfort with math or their love of math, and how much you want to ensure they're using this, how long you sit with them. Obviously, we want to make sure our students our kids are enjoying this, and we're not forcing them to do it, right? It's always,
Right.
It's like reading. You don't want your kids to ever feel like they're being punished by having to sit and do something that's supposed to be enjoyable. So this is supposed to be enjoyable. So not something that's forced on them if they're having a bad day or if they're really frustrated in math. Oh, let's get out the Love Math journal. No. Let's just keep it in a positive light, and do it in little bits throughout your home time.
Right.
What do
And I
you
love what you
think?
said about that, about it not necessarily being for, when they're having a really bad math day and they're really frustrated or they got a bad grade or something like that. But the thing that I love about that is that so often those can be the only conversations that we have with our kids is when something goes wrong with math, right? So the conversations are just always negative. It's always trying to fix something, right? It's always when something bad happened. And the nice thing about this, like you said, doing this sort of consistently, not necessarily, when things have gone wrong, is that our only conversations aren't bad. And it's also like practice, right? Daily practice, sort of talking about it. And I do think that, doing the journal with your kids, right? Having little conversations with them about, and it's a really quick conversation, right? It's like, oh, what's your answer to this question going to be? Oh, here's what I think, and then they can just jot something quick down. But it gets you guys talking about math in different ways from so many different angles, and I don't know. I love the idea of having lots of tiny little positive conversations about math. To sort of to counter all of the ones that are the struggles.
Do you think maybe you should read a couple prompts just to give everybody an idea of some of the types of questions that are in there?
Oh yeah, definitely. So the very first page that we have in there really is sort of a little assessment to see where kids are at the very beginning before they've even started the journal. And so the very first ones, if you're watching the video of this, it's got some little different types of smiley face emojis to see sort of where they're at. And then, are you happy? Are you so with math? Does it make you sad? Does it make you angry? And then the very first question is, why do you feel this way? Right? Just to think a little bit about not just the feeling itself, but why do you feel that way? And we've got another question. What words come to mind when you think about math? One of my favorite parts is talking about how math is a skill, right? Just like playing a sport, just like learning a new language, just like learning how to read. And so we do have questions on this parallel, right? Like, what is another skill that you've learned? And then how did you develop the skill, right? Like, what are things that you've done to develop it? And then paralleling that with math, right? What are things that you can do to learn math in a similar way? Let's see, what is a goal that you have when you grow up, and how does math relate to your goal? Some questions on goals.
I think a lot of it, we tried to parallel everything. So not every question is necessarily about math, right? There's things like, what are 3 things you're grateful for today? What's a goal you have for your future, right? What's a goal you have for today? And then being able to see how students have, what is something that you've learned in the past? How did somebody help you? How have you helped others, right? So they can start seeing places they're doing these things in their lives and how that is exactly what they also need to be doing in math, and it'll help them in math.
Exactly. And yeah, and then we just have lots of these little, I don't know, positive questions, right? Geared towards looking for the positive things in math, right? What's a positive experience you had with math? What's something you hope to learn in math? What's something you're already good at in math? I love our page on the growth mindset and fixed mindset, right? Because we talk about, one, I think it's helpful that the definitions are right there, right? So as a parent or a teacher, even, if you're not sure, you don't have to worry about going and looking up different definitions for things, right? Everything that you really need to know is right there in the journal for you to have a conversation with your kids or your students. And then it talks about, when was the time that you had a growth mindset or a fixed mindset and stuff. So that way they can start, instead of looking at the general definitions, right? Really looking at little moments, right? Because we know like our math students, they do have moments, right? Where they see something that's hard and they recognize that and they work through it. But then they also have moments where they just give up and get really frustrated, And so it's nice to just sort of identify those sometimes as moments, right? Rather than just, your entire personality.
Exactly. I think during, you mentioned the moments and getting frustrated, it's a good spot to talk about the fun problems, which are also the hard problems. We have those scattered throughout the whole book because they're such an important part of math and growing and learning. And so a big focus of this journal is helping the students to work through those difficult problems with some prompts as to how did you go about this and who did you ask for help and what were some strategies you needed, so that they can write down these really tough problems that they're proud of that they got through, or maybe they're still working through, and then they can go back and say, well, if I figured that problem out, I can do it again. And so just putting an emphasis on the fact that it's okay to have these hard, challenging problems, and it's okay to not know what you're going to do to get through it, but here are some steps. And by the time they've done this multiple times throughout the journal, they'll be hopefully looking at these challenging problems in a different light.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, just to clarify, there are lots of prompts in the journal where we're just, asking different questions about math, but part of the journal it is actually a journal of math problems. And so we have these different pages for students to write down, the problems in math that were fun, right? So they can remember the problems and topics that they enjoy. And we have pages for them to write down the problems that were hard, right? So they can recognize, right, that the hard problems are part of what you should love about math, right? And so we actually have them, write them out again. They have this journal of like all of the hard, challenging accomplishments from their math class, right? And that is the hard stuff that they've learned. And then of course the questions that go along with it, right? So they can see and understand the journey that they go through to figure out the hard problems, right? Who did they go to for help? What did they do when they got frustrated? What's a mistake that they made, right? And something that they can learn from. So they can see that all of this is part of the process, right? All of that struggle is the thing that they should love about math. We're trying to take that thing that they hate about math and turn it into the thing that they love. And I think, part of this idea is, keeping a journal of this stuff and reflecting on it. And hopefully that can have a positive effect on students.
Definitely. Well said.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about some of the different things in the journal, right? Because we mentioned in the subtitle of it that we've got prompts, affirmations, and reflections. And we've talked about, gratitude in journaling. And I guess just, as a community college math professor, a lot of these things are new to me and not anything that I've ever necessarily heard about in terms of math education. So I guess for teachers and parents who maybe are new to things like gratitude and affirmations and stuff, do you mind if we just sort of go through the list and explain what each of these things are that we've integrated into the journal?
Sure. Yeah.
Does that sound good? All right, yeah. Cool. So let's start with growth mindset and fixed mindset. All right. If there's, teachers or parents out there who are sort of new to those terms, what is growth mindset and fixed mindset?
So a fixed mindset is when you believe that your abilities are set, okay? By saying, I'm smart. That's a good thing if you're smart, yes, but it's also a fixed mindset. It's helping develop fixed mindset by not focusing on the learning part, okay? So kids who are told all the time that you're really smart, you might be setting them up to feel like they can't fail. And so they won't want to try something that they might fail at, right? And so rather than that, we want students to be open to learning and seeing the challenges and things, and knowing that it's the process that's important as opposed to the result they get. A fixed mindset is more on the result. I can or can't do this. This is good enough. I've handed something in, so that's good enough. Whereas a growth mindset is more thinking about, is this the best I can do? What more can I learn from this? And that you are able to always be learning. Whereas a fixed mindset is more like, I know what I know. And either I'm not good at this, I don't really do math. I'm not a math person. That's a complete fixed mindset, because in reality, science has proven that anybody can learn, right? So you can always learn more in math or any other area of your life. And so having a growth mindset just is about acknowledging that, and that you can always be learning, and you are always learning.
Exactly. I love, what you said about the fixed mindset sort of is when students say, oh, I'm just not a math person and I can't learn it, right? And the thing about that is that that's them telling themselves, it doesn't matter what I do, it doesn't matter how much I try, I'm still never going to get it, right? And so if you have that mindset, of course you're not going to try, because what's the point in trying, right? If nothing's going to come of it. Where having the growth mindset is, this might be really hard for me right now, but I know that if I put time and I put effort and I practice, right, I know that I have the ability to learn it, right? And if you have that mindset, then of course you're going to put time and effort and energy and practice into it, because you know that it'll pay off, right? So even if you have two students looking at the exact same assignment, right, or the exact same challenging math question, right? Obviously, the one with the growth mindset is going to work harder at it and try harder at it, because they believe that that'll make a difference, right? Whereas the one with a fixed mindset won't, because what's the point, right? So much of what is in this journal is helping students to develop a growth mindset, specifically when it comes to math, because gosh, we see it all the time, right? We see all the time that students can have a growth mindset, but it's focused on other areas of their life, right? They see that in sports, if they try hard, right, and they put effort in and they practice, they'll get better, but they don't get that they lose that message somewhere between sports and math, right? Or maybe they see it in music, or they see it in other subjects in school, right? But they miss that somehow. They just always forget about that when it comes to math specifically. So we're trying to bridge that gap, right, between that growth mindset that we see in students elsewhere, and try to build that up in math. We know it's already there in so many students. We just have to get that connection to math. All right. So a large part of developing the growth mindset is affirmations. And this is something that I just recently heard about in the last few years. It was something, honestly, I didn't even know existed before that. You can tell us a little bit about what affirmations are and how they help students.
Sure. So affirmations are basically self-talk, or things that we tell ourselves in order to change those thought patterns in our brain. Okay. Because a lot of the time we all have negative thought patterns in our brain. That's how our brains are wired. And so by writing down affirmations, or hearing affirmations, reading affirmations, which could be as simple as, I can do this, right? That is an affirmation. That's a positive affirmation. So by writing it down, our brain starts to believe this. And so the more we are exposed to positive affirmations, the more our negative thought patterns in our brains will change, and we will have more positive thought patterns. So we start to believe what our brain's telling us, and we start to act that way. So no longer do I say, I can't do this, this is too hard. Every time I see more affirmations and people telling me, you can do this, you will do this, it's challenging, but you can get over it, right? We start to believe that, and little by little, our entire thought process changes and our actions change, and we start to actually do it. We don't shut down. We actually take on the challenge, and we are successful with it, because right, we keep going until we've figured it out. So that's the purpose of the affirmations in this book, is to help students just keep planting those little seeds in their brain that they can do this. It's normal to fail. It's good to fail, but they can keep getting back up again, right? And trying again.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like they're positive, but also true and helpful sort of growth mindset messages that help students. And so it's something actually that you might have at home already, with your kids. It's something that you might have in your classroom already. Anytime you have some sort of message that you want them to see repeatedly, right? Because if they just keep seeing it enough and they keep hearing it enough, they'll eventually believe it. So if you look behind me on the wall, I've got a couple of posters that I have up here because I like, when I teach, I like for my students to see these messages, right? One says, if it wasn't hard, everyone would do it. It's the hard that makes it great, right? Which is so math, right? It's the hard that makes math great. The middle one is, you're capable of more than you know. And the last one is, it doesn't get easier, you get stronger, right? So those are sort of affirmations in the sense that they're messages that I want students to see over and over again. And I like this idea of just having it in my background. So that way, if they're just looking, right? Maybe they're listening to the lecture, but they're looking and then they see it there. And so that's one of the things that we built in a lot into the book. Is it in every single page? It's in almost every page.
Almost every page.
Almost every page has a different quote or message along those lines for students. And the thing that I like about having so many in the book is that, different messages resonate with different students, right? I've definitely found that, I looked at so many different messages before I found the ones that I wanted to put on my wall. And in fact, the ones that I put on the wall for my students is actually different than the ones that I have on the wall for me, because on the opposite wall, away from the computer, which is what I'm looking at throughout the day, is one that says, all things are difficult before they are easy. And I always need that just for myself to remind me that, writing a book, it's going to be difficult before it's easy. Starting a podcast, it's going to be difficult before it's easy. All of these things that I want to do, that I get these moments where I'm scared or I think that I can't do it, I just have to keep reminding myself that it's going to be difficult before it's easy. So all of those are sort of, affirmations. And I don't know, I love the way that we built it into the book.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. And we tried to pick ones that were completely age appropriate, right? There were a lot of other ones that were amazing quotes, but they were just a little too advanced for our grade 4 to 8. So we did take some that we felt would resonate with that age group.
Exactly. All right. And then let's talk about gratitude next. All right. Tell us a little bit about gratitude. This is your area of expertise. I'm sort of new to this. So tell us a little bit about gratitude and, what are some of the benefits of it? How on earth can gratitude actually help us in a math class? Right?
That is a good question. So gratitude is, the act of feeling thankful or grateful for something and appreciating things that have either happened to you or things around you. And so there have been a ton of studies on this, and you could just have to Google it to find dozens and dozens of studies here. But there's been a lot of research done, and it's shown that just the act of thinking about something you're grateful for releases the feel-good chemicals in your brain, serotonin and dopamine. Okay, just thinking about something like today, I went outside and heard the birds and looked at the sun, and that just released dopamine and serotonin, because I thought, oh, I'm so grateful that it's spring and I can hear the birds, right? And so physically it is changing our brain. So the more we can do this, the more of those feel-good chemicals we have in our brain helping us to be happier. And those chemicals also help us to, they increase our immune system. They help us to sleep better. There are so many benefits about gratitude. And when you've developed a practice, hold on, we'll go back.
No worries.
There are so many benefits about gratitude that when you develop a practice and make this a habit, things in your life just start to change for the better. And some of the benefits that affect math class specifically would be that you have better communication skills and relationship building, teamwork. You've got lower stress and anxiety, which is a big one. You're better able to make decisions and solve problems. So all of these are just screaming, we need this in math class, right? So yes. Calmer students, happier students. And so that's why I totally I preach the fact that we should have a gratitude practice in our classroom, to start every day. And it doesn't have to be math focused gratitude. It can just be a gratitude practice just to get our students in this mindset, because we're helping to set them on this path of happiness, right? So if we could do that in general, that's going to help them in all areas of class. So now what we've done is taken it up a step, and we're infusing the gratitude pieces right in the math journal. So what are you grateful for about in math class today? What happened in math class, right? How can you thank your math teacher or tutor? What can you say to them? And so we've got a lot of gratitude pieces that you would see in a gratitude journal and prompts, but we've brought it into math specifically.
Yes. And that's the thing that I love the most about it, right? Is that we're integrating it into the math portion of class, right? Because that's where we need it the most. All right. Let's see. We are, oh my goodness, it's been over a half hour now. We're way over on time already. Let's see. Last question.
Do we want to talk about how we talked about how it's different?
Yeah, journaling. I think I don't know if we need to go on to journaling. We've talked a lot about how it's a journal.
Yeah.
So I guess, should we just jump to where people can find it?
Yep.
Okay. All right, awesome. So we've covered a whole bunch about the book, and I guess last question then is, where can people get it? If there's parents or teachers listening today and they want to check it out for their kids or their students, where can they get the Love Math Journal?
Well, it's available on Amazon
Today.
So you can go. Yes. So exciting. This is my first thing on Amazon. And I'm thrilled that I'm now an Amazon author too. So it's on Amazon. You can also access it through our websites, AllisonLovesMath.com and thefulfilledclassroom.com. We have links to the book on our websites. But yeah, Amazon is the place to go.
Yes, so definitely, if you are interested at all, please go check it out. And if you try this out with your students or your kids, send us an email and let us know how you like it. We're super excited to find out, what you think. So I think that is it for today. I'm trying to think, did I forget anything, Nicole?
Do we want to say leave a review? If they get it?
Yeah, so, okay. Sure. So very last thing then. Let's see. So yeah, if you have a chance, go over to Amazon and check out the book. If you try it out with your students or your kids, be sure to let us know what you think. We would love to hear, your thoughts and feedback on it. And, of course, always leave a review. That is such a huge help for authors. And that's it. I think that's it for today. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next interview. Bye.
Bye.